Well, we know the defense is a juggernaut, but the offense, not so much. Can the Denver Broncos get good enough offensive play to get back to the postseason? Brendan Albert is here. I'm Adrian Fedke. So what do you want to talk about first? You want to get into this quarterback situation? You want to talk offense? What do you want to do?
Well, I think the NFL starts and revolves around the quarterback, so I think that's the efficient way to kind of start things off here, Adrian.
All right. Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch. Tricky situation here, I think.
It is. I mean, I think Trevor Siemian has done everything in his power to really show he's a capable game manager, Alex Smith-like quarterback in the NFL. Now, that said, that's not really what sells NFL games, and unless you're playing with like the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense or some type of elite level defense, it makes it really hard for you to make the playoffs. Now, that said, the Broncos certainly have that level of a defense that they can win with a game manager. Hence, they went 9-7 last year, and the big sell for Trevor Siemian. Now, obviously, Paxton Lynch, he's the guy. I mean, as far as talent, as far as the future, he's there. I mean, Trevor Siemian only has 2 years left in his contract, and really what the Broncos don't want to do, they don't want to go into the last year of Trevor Siemian's contract with a quarterback battle, because then they get held at gunpoint when it comes to contract negotiation time. So really, this is the year for the Broncos to piss or get off the pot in terms of deciding which quarterback they want to move forward with.
Yeah, in a realistic situation, you'd think Lynch is the guy. I mean, second year, this is when he's supposed to take the reins. But we've seen so much bad from him. Do we even feel confident trotting him out there?
Well, I mean, the thing is you're going to get to the point where he's going to have the opportunity to go out. Honestly, if I'm the Broncos, I almost say, hey, let's pull the trigger right away, and let's just say, hey, Paxton Lynch, you're going to get the starts the rest of preseason. And as long as it isn't absolutely atrocious, and more importantly by that, hurting the team, i.e. turnovers, and we can still win with you, then we'll keep rolling with it, and we'll let the team develop moving forward. But if he gets to the point where he's having turnover after turnover and he's really putting the defense back on the field in short field, then we got to move on from him and bring Trevor Siemian in.
All right. So here's what I'll say: it's only a preseason game and only a couple limited opportunities that he had last year. But you talked about it. If he doesn't turn the ball over, but it seems like he's always throwing into triple coverage, double coverage. Like he's just not seeing the field very well.
It's a catch-22 because he kind of reminds me a lot of guys like what Cutler likes to do and Rodgers and Stafford, and they have these howitzer of an arms. I mean, just freaking Greek gods have come down and blessed them with this unbelievable arm talent that unfortunately a lot of these guys probably have gotten away with most of their careers making those bad throws, but because their arms are so freaking talented, it's hard to tell them not to. So, yeah, I mean, I get it, but that's definitely what Paxton Lynch's kind of mindset is. He's definitely one of those bigger gunslinger guys.
Yeah. I think the quarterback that they should start if they want to make the postseason is Siemian. But if you want that development, you got to go with Lynch. So it really comes down to what they're looking for. I really don't know. I'm glad I'm not Vance Joseph because this is a tough spot to be in because I don't think Siemian is horrible, and I'm not a Lynch guy.
Yeah, I agree with you, Adrian. Honestly, I think Trevor Siemian, and this is not a shot on him, he would be the best NFL backup of any team in the NFL. I don't think he's someone who's going to go out there and win you games, but he's a guy you can win with. So with a team like what the Broncos have, they certainly can do that. The unfortunate thing is they drafted a quarterback number 1 overall, so they already are financially kind of on the hook for him. They've already invested in him, so I think, unfortunately, Trevor Siemian probably isn't going to be the long-term solution there in Denver, mostly just because of, they already made the decision to move forward with Paxton Lynch. Now, that said, it's important to also remind ourselves that when the Broncos moved up from 31 to 26 to get Paxton Lynch, the only thing they traded was that first-round pick, which was at 31, and a third-round pick overall. So it's not like what we've seen the Chiefs do or the Texans do this last year in trading multiple ones. The Broncos really did very little. So for them to move on from Paxton Lynch, it isn't like they invested 2 years of first-round picks, but I still think the Broncos will absolutely give him his fair shot this season.
Yeah. Look at last year, 9-7. They still got a great defense, even though DeMarcus Ware isn't there anymore. But the offense, can it be good enough to make the postseason?
Well, I want to kind of, hold off a little bit on going player by player, but really Denver's only 2 offensive threats away from being an awful offense. They don't really have much there. I have them this year, Adrian, going 7-9. I think 3-3 in the division is realistic. Both losses to the Raiders. I think the Raiders probably can't sweep them, or potentially maybe they steal one. So they go 1-1 in division. And then when they have their non-divisional games, they get teams like Giants, Eagles, Patriots, Cowboys, Bills, Skins, Bengals, Jets. Those last four I just rattled off, those Jets, Bengals, Bills, Redskins, those are teams I think realistically they can beat. So I think the Broncos, they're going to go 7-9 this year. They were 9-7 last year. But honestly, at the same time, because we've seen major injuries from the Ravens, we've seen massive injuries going on in Miami, those are two teams right there that were threats to be the AFC wildcards. So it's really not a stretch to see Denver all of a sudden stay at 9-7 and now end up being a wild card team, mostly just because the defense is going to carry them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because you look at it statistically last year, fourth most 3-and-outs. They were 27th in rushing yards, 26th in red zone touchdowns. So not pretty at all, that's for sure. So we'll get into the individual units shortly. But one more topic I wanted to get into. Von Miller, 30 sacks. Is he nuts?
He's nuts. I mean, I respect that. Look, there's a great quote someone once told me, if your dreams don't scare you, you're not dreaming big enough. Well, this dream should terrify everyone, because if Von Miller is somehow going to get 30 sacks, that's roughly 2 sacks a game. I mean, the most sacks of an NFL season was 22.5 Michael Strahan. And even when you were looking at it towards the end, he was struggling to get those last couple. The offensive lines were sliding, tight ends were staying in, backs were chipping. It's just really, really elaborate of a goal to have. I love that he has this goal. It's just not realistic in 2017.
Yeah, well, it was tough to get that sack until Brett was just like, well, here you go, kid. So,
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. All right, I'll ask this question: Von Miller or Khalil Mack? Who would you rather have?
I take Khalil Mack, and the only reason I do that is because I think of scheme versatility. I know I can put Khalil Mack down as a 4-3 D end, or I can have him stand up as a 3-4 outside linebacker. I'm not 100% confident that I can be that we can have as much success with Von Miller down as a 4-3 defensive end. Look, he still would be unbelievable, but I don't think he would be the same unbelievable talent that he is standing up as a 3-4. So for me, I'm going Khalil Mack because of scheme versatility.
Didn't he play some 4-3 at some point? Didn't they play for like a year, I think?
They had a short term of that. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I thought so. And he still did pretty well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's still going to be in the top 5, but to me, as a 3-4, he's number 1, or if not number 2. I don't think he's number 1 or number 2 in a 4-3.
Okay. Yeah. I can agree with that. And I'm with you. I think I gave both of those guys a 9 in my little rating system, but I'd probably take Khalil Mack, because he can do a little bit.
Look, we're splitting hairs here. These are both pass rushers in the NFL.
Yeah. 2 best defensive players in the league right now. So there you go. Except maybe, I don't know, who else would be there? Luke Kuechly, maybe? So
Kuechly, Earl Thomas.
Earl Thomas, yeah. All right. Let's go position by position now. So we went into quarterbacks. Now let's get into running backs. Jamal Charles, they bring him in. What does he have left? Anything?
Well, let me take one quick step back and talk quarterback real quick, because there's one more thing I forgot to mention. So the Broncos, as I mentioned, there was rumors that they were trying to trade for Aaron Murray. So there was those rumors, or not Aaron Murray. I'm sorry, I always butcher his name. I always give Georgia more love than Bama. But there were rumors they were trying to go out there and add another quarterback. So there was that rumor going on. The other thing I'd be curious about, let's say, for example, Adrian, let's play our hypothetical game here. Paxton Lynch struggles. They get to a year of knowing, hey, Trevor Siemian is what Trevor Siemian is, fine. And now we're looking in free agency next year. We got guys like Stafford, Drew Brees, and Cousins on the board. Do you think the Broncos would make a run at one of those guys?
I think so. I do. Cousins? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, how wouldn't you? You know what I mean? And I don't want to get to the point where, I'm saying all the Broncos, they just keep pulling old quarterbacks and making them win. Well, if you put Drew Brees on that team, dude, they would be nasty. And I don't think that's unrealistic to see any one of those quarterbacks being free agent. I think the less likely is Stafford because of how much cap room the Lions have. But that's one thing I at least want to throw out there. I think Denver could be a team as a dark horse, potentially going out there and signing a quarterback next year. Now, when we go to the back, let's talk about this, Adrian. I think we know what C.J. Anderson is. He's a 3 to 3 to 3.5 yard pop running back. He's not a real threat. I mean, they brought in Jamal Charles to hope there's something left there. And Devin Booker is similar to what C.J. Anderson is. So as a running back unit, there's nothing there that really scares me. It's better than, I would say, probably, 10 teams in the NFL. But it's still not a running back situation where I'm like, all right, cool, we don't need to worry about a running back in the next year's draft or next year's offseason.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a lot less zone blocking and more power blocking this year. So do you think that's better off for the backs?
Well, I think that's better off for C.J. Anderson and Devin Booker. I don't think it's better off for Jamal Charles because
Devontae Booker.
Devontae Booker. Sorry, give him some love here. I think Booker and Anderson, they're probably more of your true power back. Hey, we're gonna hit B gap and we're gonna run this power rope play here. Jamal Charles, his success was always more of speed and vision. Now, obviously, I don't know how much vision or how much speed's left, but I doubt Jamal Charles' vision has dropped off.
Yeah, I'm with you on Anderson because he's like that bowling ball type. You play a little power, he can break some tackles for you. So there you go. All right, wide receiver, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders. Still a great dynamic duo there at the wideout spot, but we got to get better quarterback play too.
Like I said, if you take Thomas and you take Sanders away from that offense, and there's really nothing offensively that scares you. I mean, people don't realize how really bad the roster is offensively for the Broncos, and yet they still were 5th in the NFL in points last year, Adrian.
Wow.
Which is something that blows people away when you think about it. But both of these guys are still studs. Both of these guys are still 80 to 100 catch reception guys. Both of these guys can still do a ton. We're seeing Sanders start to take over a little more of the vertical game than Thomas used to, and Thomas is starting to run a little more of the short stuff. Both of these guys are really darn good receivers in the NFL. Yeah,
the question now is who else besides those two steps up? Because there's not much else in that wide receiving core. Now, I do like this rookie out of is he from Louisiana Tech?
Carlos Henderson, Louisiana Tech. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like him a little bit. I don't know. I haven't heard anything from him in camp because I haven't been following the Broncos, but I'm curious to see what he can do this preseason. If I remember correctly, I think he had like a fumble, muff punt during the game, but he's a guy that I liked.
Well, Cody Latimer was really for a while there supposed to be the slot receiver for the future of the Broncos, and he never really grabbed the job and ran with it. So insert Carlos Henderson this year. So he's a guy who's got a unbelievable athletic skill set. Now he's probably a little raw in route running, which unfortunately happens a lot of time with guys who are just unbelievably talented. But Carlos Henderson's big selling point is that he's a punt returner, kick returner. So that fumble actually is a bigger deal for someone like him than it is for a guy who maybe is just trying to make the team. I shouldn't say that because make the team guys are trying to make the team. But Carlos Henderson, his big sell was his special teams play. So if he's not able to do that, now you're like, oh boy, maybe we're not actually getting the value we want. I like the Carlos Henderson pick later in the round. It's a nice little top off the defense threat that you can add there in Denver.
Yeah, I agree. All right, offensive line now, not a good unit. And it was a terrible draft for offensive linemen too, but they do pick up Garrett Bowles. So let's talk about this unit. A little bit of a makeover. They signed Ronald Leary. What do you think?
Well, I mean, really, when you look at the offensive line, I want to start and talk about the tackle situation because to me, that's the most important position, specifically the left tackle. So when you're looking there at the left tackle, Don Stevenson was that left tackle with Russell Okung kind of thing, and Donald was a turnstile. I mean, I think Trevor Siemian probably could tell you what color his eyes were and exactly where every freckle on his face was because he was just getting turned around over and over again. He was an awful left tackle. So losing Russell Okung, by no means was he a elite-level offensive lineman, but what Denver had wasn't exactly a rock star situation. So exactly like you said, Adrian, we know this was a bad offensive line, but really Denver didn't have a choice. Where they were picking, they needed to pick for value. They needed to get a tackle, and they went with Garrett Bowles. Now, Garrett Bowles is a guy who only played 1 year of Division I football. Coming out of high school, he did his Mormon mission. Then he went to a JC for 2 years, played at Utah for 1 year, gets drafted in the first round. So awesome success story for him. But we're not exactly looking at a really large sample size. Now, he is a very, very athletic tackle. He should be able to do very well in run blocking because he's so athletic. But if for some reason he doesn't start the starting lineup game one at tackle, Denver is in a much worse offensive line situation than we had thought.
Yeah. They also bring in Menelik Watson. Used to play for the Raiders, I believe. He's going to be the right tackle. So changes galore. They traded for Alan Barbary, so got him. Yeah, so they're trying. They are. It's still not really good. So.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say that is good for Denver is left guard and center situation. Both of those guys can be Pro Bowl level players. So, with Leary and Matt, those are definitely two guys who could potentially be Pro Bowl guys for you. Right tackle, Menelik has never been able to stay healthy. Even look back to his time at Florida State. He wasn't able to stay healthy. So now you're potentially going to have between him, a guy who maybe has a little higher ceiling but can't stay healthy, versus Donald Stevenson, which we know is a very, very poor right tackle situation. So in Denver, you have a situation there. The other thing you got to always add when we talk about offensive line and make that transition from offensive line to receivers is our tight ends. Virgil Green is an unbelievable athlete at tight end, but he's not exactly a NFL caliber starting tight end. So one of my favorite picks of the NFL draft because of where he went was Jake Butt. Going to the Broncos late, if he can rehab and he can, get healthy again, Adrian, he was a top 3 tight end coming out initially before he got hurt. So what the Broncos got there, this is someone who hopefully they strike gold in a year or two from now, and all the best for Jake Butt in his recovery.
Yeah, Virgil Green is very much a blocking tight end. That's what he's known for. But he's a very, very good blocker. So he does that very well. He's just not going to catch you a lot of passes. That's not what he's known for. All right, moving on to the defensive line. Did they bring in D'Amato Pecco this year, or was that last year? I don't even.
No, they did. They brought him in this year to play that zero tech in the 3-4.
Okay, so they've got him, and Derek Wolfe is still there. He's a beast. So, do you want to go into Derek Wolfe a little further, or you want to just move on?
No, Derek Wolfe, I think, is a really nice 3-4 defensive end. He's a heavy-handed. He's very good against the run. Yes. Now, this is catch-22. People are going to be like, oh, he doesn't get sacks. Well, yeah, because he plays next to Von Miller. So who do you think is going to get the sacks there? And for a better part of his career, he's playing up to Marcus Ware. And now you insert Shane Ray, who had 8 sacks last year. He had a successful time coming off the edge. So with the front 7, what Denver's got going on, really nice there. Again, they're very similar to what Kansas City wants to do with their 3-down linemen, not exactly being the elite pass rushers, but really being the force to hold against the run. Now, when we go to linebackers, Todd Davis made a massive jump from his last year to this year. He went from 21 tackles to 97 tackles, which is unbelievable. So I'm circling Todd Davis and saying, hey, is this real? I mean, is this who you are now, or is this just a fluke? So that's something we got to kind of keep our eyes on here too. But this is also tied a lot to the fact that Brandon Marshall, the other inside linebacker, took a massive drop. He went from 100 tackles down to 50. So I want to see those two guys. Are we seeing Brandon Marshall slip, and that's why Todd Davis is ascending? Or is Todd Davis actually going to be this good in the NFL?
Yeah. And then we got Shane Ray taking over for DeMarcus Ware at that outside linebacker spot. 4 sacks in his last 6 games, so he really came on at the end of the year. Pretty much an explosive first step. What do you think about Shane Ray?
Shane Ray is another one of those Mizzou edge guys. Mizzou has quietly become one of the best edge rushing schools in the country, and especially for 3-4 backers. So Shane Ray, he's a little more of a finesse guy. He still needs to add a little more of the physicality to his pass rush skill set. That said, he's still very, very successful. Look, I would still take him over a lot of starting NFL outside linebackers in that 3-4. So I like Shane Ray.
Yeah. All right, cornerbacks. Best in the league.
No question.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no close. No. I think, Adrian, we did this on our Chiefs show, and I kind of wrote my notes down here. So if you want to talk about it, we can. If not, we want to skip over, that's fine. But I did a top 5 corners, and I put Talib in there as 1, and I put Harris in there as 3, with Peters being number 2, Butler being 4, and then Patrick Peterson being 5. But from a corners unit, they're solid right there. I mean, you truck those 2 guys out there, and you say, okay, we're okay. They're one of those situations where they really do have NFL number 1s on both sides, so they don't have to say, okay, Patrick Peterson, you're going to follow Julio Jones, whether he's on the right, the left, or slot, doesn't matter. No, they can pretty much just say, hey, we're going to be here, and whatever is going to come to us, we're okay. Then the corner situation, they're nasty there. They're nasty on the edge too.
All right, why is Talib the best corner in the league? Because I know you love him a lot. I got him at 8, but that's just me.
I love Talib because he is so freaking physical. From the time that you snap to the time the ball's in the air. What I love most about Talib is wherever the ball is placed, he is working so hard to get inside that near hip of the receiver and get over the top while not being a gambling corner that we see Marcus Peters be in Kansas City. Marcus Peters does very, very similar things, but he gambles a little more. He doesn't always get right to the hip. He sometimes likes to kind of V-cut and make a D-line path right to the ball. But Talib, I just love everything he does. I'm a huge fan of him. He's a little bit of a nut, from everything you read and everything.
He's definitely a nut, yeah.
But, he's a nasty corner. He's my top corner in the NFL.
Yeah, okay. I got here, I'll read off my top corners. I already did it for the Chiefs show, but I'll do it again. So Patrick Peterson, number 1. Marcus Peters, number 2. Chris Harris, number 3. Richard Sherman, number 4. Josh Norman, number 5. Desmond Trufant, number 6. Darius Slay, number 7. Then I got Talib at 8. So
yeah, I think you're a little high on Sherm. I think Sherman's going to slip a little bit, but we can talk more about him when we get to our Seahawks show.
Yeah. If you remember the Chiefs show, I asked you, I'm like, dude, I don't know where to put him because I didn't want to put him at number 1 because he's not the best anymore. So I put him at 4. That was like a safe bet for me. So that's why I went 4. And the fact that you say lower, because I don't know where to put him. I literally don't.
I get that, and I think the thing I love most about what Denver's corners do is they really show the ability to do it all. They're not afraid to tackle. They'll run press. They'll run zone. They'll play off man. They'll play a 2-read system. They really do it all there in Denver. So I love that. Then we move to the safety situation. T.J. Ward led the team in tackles last season, in total tackles. So he had another solid NFL career. Now he is 30. He is a little older, and he isn't a contract year. So there's kind of a circle situation I circled there with T.J. Ward. They do have Justin Simmons, who was a rookie last year, and he was the only rookie in the NFL to not miss a tackle. Now, that said, he only had 30 of them. He didn't play a ton of games, did a lot of special team stuff, did come in situations for safety. So he has shown a bit of a flash. Now, the question then becomes, does this mean the Broncos next year, they say, you know what, we're not going to re-sign T.J. Ward, and we'll let Justin Simmons come in and step in? I don't know definitively. So that's kind of a thing I'm going to circle. T.J. Ward can still do it in the NFL. He still can be a very, very good starter. But for salary cap situations, I could see the Broncos moving on from him and potentially using some of that money to try to go after Cousins or try to go after Breeze or someone else like that. And then they have Darian Stewart, still a very underrated free safety. Had 3 receptions last year, tied for the team lead. So still a very good defensive back situation with the safeties. But truth is, if you have good corners underneath, those safeties, they can run around free and don't necessarily have to be as worried about helping the corners over the top.
Yeah. And just to get back to corner, just real quick, Bradley Roby's good too. So there you go. That's their 3rd guy. All right. Who's on the hot seat in Denver?
I have T.J. Ward on my hot seat just because of exactly what I just talked about. With his contract situation and with a rookie playing pretty well, again, not in a ton of minutes. I think he only got to start maybe in 3 or 4 games last year. But when you have a contract situation, 30 years old, the Broncos are a team who's going to be probably towards the bottom 3rd as far as salary cap expendable. I'm going to circle T.J. Ward because, look, it's not about the fact that you can do it. It's about the fact that what your salary is going to be may not be what getting a rookie or a second-year guy is going to be in Justin Simmons or potentially drafting a guy.
Yeah. I got Paxton Lynch. You got to step up your game, pal. You do. So I don't think I need to say that any further.
No, I could also say C.J. Anderson. There's a lot of guys on the hot seat here, especially offensively there for the Broncos have.
Yeah. Who's underrated?
I'm going to say Darian Stewart. And I say that because exactly what my earlier comment was. Their corners are so freaking good that their safeties don't necessarily get the love. The Broncos love to be able to spin T.J. Ward down. T.J. Ward and Cam Chancellor are very, very similar in that both of them can do a ton of stuff against the run. They're both really, really good about playing the tight ends. But Darian Stewart's a great middle-of-the-field player too, and he's no slouch either. I like Darian Stewart a lot. He's consistently a guy who's getting you close to 1 to 5 turnovers the last several seasons. I'm a big Darian Stewart fan. Is an underrated guy here for the Denver Broncos.
Okay. I'm going to go with Kasim Edebali, outside rusher. By the way, he flashed a little bit in that preseason opener, so he looked pretty good. So maybe that's why I'm putting him here. But yeah, Kasim Adebali, and I had another name written down. Hold on, let me look at the depth chart because I forget. Oh yeah, Chris Harris. Chris Harris is underrated. Well, it depends. It depends, I guess, because he's a top 5 corner, but nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, I mean,
is he underrated? That's kind of. He may not be underrated anymore. Maybe, I don't know.
No, I hear what you're saying, Adrian. I think to the average fan, they probably don't know who he is because he's not that over the top, loud, very, very noticeable corner. He just goes out there and handles his business. But for football fans, they know how good he is. So I can understand why you think maybe he's overrated. I would say maybe he doesn't get the media attention he deserves, but his talent is certainly recognized in the league and by guys who really know the game.
Yeah, because I got top 3 corner, but I don't know if most people would put him as top 3. So
sure.
That's why I mentioned that. All right, who's your fantasy guy?
I'm going to go Demaryius Thomas here, all right? And here's the reason I say that. We know Denver has kind of struggled a little bit to run the ball a little bit. But what the Broncos are doing more than most teams in the NFL, they're running a ton of receiver screens. So if you're in a PPR league, what we're seeing now is we're seeing Sanders starting to take more of the vertical game. So in turn, his receptions per game are dropping, but his yards and his big play points are rising. So if you're non-PPR, then I would say Sanders. But if you're a PPR league, then I'm to Demaryius Thomas because he's catching a lot of bubble screen stuff. He's very good with the ball in his hands, run after the catch ability. So I like him a lot. He's going to be a guy you'll probably draft probably as a wide receiver too. But realistically, let's say, for example, you go out and you draft Brandon Cooks or maybe even Tyreek Hill as your wide receiver 1. I'm going to circle Demaryius Thomas and cross my fingers I can get him because I know what Demaryius Thomas is. You pair him next to a Cooks or Hill, guy who might be a little bit of a boom or bust situation this year, I think you're going to be a really, really good situation at your receiver spot.
Yeah, and you got Mike McCoy as the offensive coordinator, so a lot of short passing game from him, and they like to throw the ball. Well, he always liked to throw the ball, so I like that one. Prediction: I got 8-8. I know you got 7-9. So 8-8 for me is actually the worst team in the division. So that just shows how good the AFC West is.
Yeah, they certainly did. I mean, the Chargers, we'll talk about them on our next show. But, yeah, I have the Broncos going 7-9, finishing last in the AFC West. But the truth is that's one of the harder divisions in the NFL, so you can't beat yourself up too much. Big thing for the Broncos moving forward, just figuring out what they're going to do at quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that's Brendan Albert. I'm Adrian Fedke. We'll be right back. We're doing the Chargers up next. Peace.
Take care, guys.